Welcome to the Mojo Mundi podcast, where it's all about magic, manifesting, and movement. I'm Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch, and in this episode we will acquaint ourselves with the Sacred Fool. In the process of writing Dancing with the Tao, an invitation to somatic spirituality, I realized for the first time what my fundamental definition of magic is. Magic to me is the moment when we realize that two mutually exclusive things are happening right now. When something that could not possibly happen is happening, that is the definition of magic. It can't happen, and yet it is. In my second podcast, The Art of Allowing Things to Fall into Our Laps, I described just such an event. As a passenger in the back seat of a van, I was lovingly observing a beautiful autumn leaf drifting down from a branch as I rode toward it from a block away. As I observed the leaf drifting and dancing on the breeze, it floated right in through the slit of the driver's barely open window, over his head and headrest, and into my hands as they lay in my lap. That doesn't happen. I have never had a leaf float in through the 2-inch gap of an open window in any car in which I was either a passenger or the driver. I actually have never had a leaf float in through a wide-open window of a moving car, let alone the very leaf I was intently admiring. I don't know of anyone else who has ever experienced a similar event. The magic is that I know such an event is so improbable as to be considered not possible, and it happened. Two mutually exclusive things occurring in that moment. It can't, and yet it has. Interestingly, as I was writing about magic and Dancing with the Tao, the above incident didn't even occur to me. Instead, I was describing energy and the science that focuses on the reality that everything is energy. As I wrote about light existing as both a wave and a particle, as something both continuous and discrete, a light went on in my mind. Well, this is magic. Light being both continuous and discrete, in other words, opposite of continuous, has been demonstrated so often that it is an accepted truth in physics. Our understanding of the physical world says this shouldn't be, just as solid objects should not contain more space than they do matter. Yet this is also true. It is impossible for two opposites to exist simultaneously, continuous and discrete, solid and not solid. And we know that they do. Our brains struggle to fit these truths into our understanding of the universe. When we relax and allow that these truths simply are, we feel our brains expand. When we allow, we feel the tingly sensation of magic or miracle afoot. The examples of magic or miracle or manifesting are endless. Physicians give a loved one a death sentence diagnosis. The prayer chain is initiated and our loved one recovers miraculously. The doctors are baffled with no explanation how the impossible has just demonstrated that it is possible. For those of you that know me, it will come as no surprise that I went in search of a term to describe my new awareness of what I define as magic, and what you may define as miracle, or divine intervention, or inshallah. And I was delighted, though not surprised, to discover the Latin phrase coincidentia oppositorum, the coincidence of opposites, or the simultaneity of opposites, or the unity of opposites. The idea has been explored for millennia, from the ancient Greek philosophers like Heraclitus, to the German Catholic bishop Nicholas of Cusa, to Carl Jung, and now to us. Coincidentia oppositorum is a deep and rich concept. For our purposes, it becomes a word description for something that is actually indescribable. We can say that a coincidentia oppositorum exists, but we really can't say why or how it exists. If we allow that it does, we open ourselves to a world filled with magic. It turns out a coincidentia oppositorum exists at the very heart of manifesting. In fact, a whole swarm of unified coincidences are part and parcel of co-creating. For example, when we co-create, we recognize and feel the missing of the something we want to manifest, while simultaneously holding the sensation of already having the missed object of our co-creation. We take action without effort. We know that we will manifest what we choose, while simultaneously accepting that it may not happen, and that we are equally filled by the having as we are by the not having. That, my friends, is a triple play of magic right there. The real irony in all of this is that we consistently practice a knowledge and acceptance of coincidentia positorum without ever realizing it or understanding its powerful significance. We sit on and walk on and move and use objects that we accept are, from a particle physics perspective, more space than matter, and that are made of particles in motion, albeit very, very slow motion. We see bugs that look exactly like leaves or bark or sticks or bird poop, yes, bird poop, while knowing that their insect brains are tiny and devoid of all functions science insists are necessary for creating the notion of camouflage. More importantly, their bodies are shaped to appear a certain way to other creatures in order to elicit a particular response from those creatures, demonstrating empathy, or at least an ability to take another's perspective, which we believe is only possible in humans, or at least higher mammals. Furthermore, they are shaping their bodies to resemble inanimate objects. Flower mantises don't gather petals and attach those petals to their appendages, though creatures that do attach items for camouflage are equally wondrous. Flower mantises' bodies form into floral designs, or works of Japanese art. Swallowtail caterpillars don't bury themselves in bird poop. Their bodies are shaped and colored like bird droppings. The leafy sea dragon adds to its camouflage by mimicking the sway of the seaweed its body resembles. It dances to sell the message. None of this is possible because we know these creatures don't have higher reasoning, don't have a sense of the emoting other, and most importantly, don't shape their bodies with their brains. We can't even do that. And yet, they are doing all of that. While we may take a moment to experience the weirdness of these and the infinite number of other coinciding opposites in our magnificent world, we seldom contemplate the deep spiritual truth that is calling to us from each and every example. Magic is here and now. We can shape not only our bodies but our world with our thoughts and feelings. Co-creating is the deepest calling of every single thing, animate and inanimate, in the universe. And perhaps most importantly, it is not selfish or crazy or childish or ignorant to believe in and practice magic, manifesting, co-creating. In fact, it is why we are here. It is our contribution. It is the highest spiritual practice. It is union with deity. What keeps us from being willing to embrace the divine gift of our miraculous magical world? A major contributor is the other. We are pack animals. We are tied to the others in our pack. We carry the other in our psyches and in our DNA, often unrecognized and unquestioned. Sadly, for most of us, it is the other that guides our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, and our actions, rather than deity, who also exists within us and all around us. Nowhere is that more evident than in the current socio-political theater of our world. I know how we relate to the other from knowing my own heart and mind. My greatest struggle moving on my living path is the incessant reflection on the other. When I think how I want to be, it quickly morphs into an imagined view of how others will view me. I imagine those of you who fashion yourselves rebels or black sheep may be insisting that you are the way you are because you do not care about the other. I have been right there with you and still am at times. Yet, when we look clearly at the rebel, we understand that she must have the other to rebel against. So, the other has a place in our psyche and a purpose in our socializing, our coming to wisdom, our survival. The other is a reality. The other is also a disruptive, distracting, and often destructive companion when it has no balancing archetype. Where may we find an archetype that can truly hold its own with such a primal energetic as the other? Enter the Fool. I first met the Fool through the tarot. The Fool is a card in the major arcana of the standard tarot. Its number is 0 in most modern tarot decks, but originally it was unnumbered. While the Fool is often associated with innocence, naivete, rashness, and/or gullibility, I believe the true meaning of the Fool is faith, the wisdom of allowing. One must truly be a fool to be a maiden embracing a lion, which is a common image on the Strength Major Arcana card. How foolish for the hanged man to suspend himself upside down from a tree branch. his crazy antics representing, among other things, a submission to the will of God. How unwise for the hermit to take a single candle lantern into the ubiquitous darkness of the wilderness, symbolizing a willingness to step into the unknown, that others may follow and be enlightened. The fool is zero, or more profoundly, is without a number. Before one, there is not nothing, but rather there is potential. The fool's secret is that she is that from which all things flow. When we choose to allow the sovereignty of each human being, we accept that we are embracing what is both harmful and what is good in humankind. We simultaneously hold the truth that everything is creator, which is to say that everything is love with a capital L, and the truth that, in physical form, we all do harm, often out of the emotion of hate. We are acknowledging that co-creating can be destroying. The coincidentia oppositorum, mutually exclusive truths existing as one. When we choose to allow that we can co-create the physical world we want, we are allowing that we can alter the physical through non-physical means, which is not possible according to the laws of the very real world we are changing. Coincidentia oppositorum. While we may be aware of experiencing that these coinciding opposites exist and are magic, the other inside our heads challenges and demeans us for the fools that we are, because the other is highly intolerant of the coincidentia oppositorum. Only an idiot would believe that talking to an imaginary man in the sky could heal someone. You pray on a rug at work? What a weirdo. Creating reality out of your thoughts is unscientific and downright stupid. It's pretty clear that the other is there in every phrase, every judgment, every assertion. Sometimes it's less clear. You are either for me or you are against me. There is only one road to God. Love the sinner, hate the sin. You can't be an artist. Nobody can make money being an artist. I can't be a singer. I'll die alone, broke and homeless. I can't manifest anything, and if I try and fail, what will people think? I confronted my own other as I examined what holds me back from stepping into really embracing a thriving, abundant life as a spiritual facilitator. I found that, lurking below the surface, I had a movie of myself as the catalyst for miracles in people's lives, walking into the sunset while others murmured praise, though I, of course, had no desire for nor awareness of the accolades. Whoa! What? I cringed and squirmed, but there was no wriggling out of that one. Here was the other, alive and well, and needing to be really impressed with how magical I am, and how spiritual I am, and how unattached I am. My POV was not through my eyes, but rather through the lens of the other. Remarkably, I was able to genuinely embrace myself with compassion in this moment of revelation. I recognized my lifelong habit of imagining myself as the heroine of the current book or movie I was consuming. I also recognized that habit was a protective mechanism against a deep-seated belief in my own unworthiness. At 68, stepping into an entirely new way of life had stirred ancient feelings inside me. The other rose to fulfill a well-practiced role, setting an unattainable goal to discourage a potentially painful first step. The fool is often depicted striding boldly toward a ledge, blissfully unaware of the approaching drop-off. It is unclear in the artwork whether the ledge is simply the lip of a step, or if it is the edge of an unseen precipice, beyond which lies a bottomless chasm into which the fool will tumble to an impending death. In the tarot, the fool is often accompanied by a dog that is leaping frantically at the sleeve of the fool. The dog represents common sense, and is there ostensibly to protect the fool from the potential destructive nature of his faith. The other resides within us to protect us, or at least that's what our parents, teachers, ministers, friends, politicians, and influencers tell us. That's what we tell ourselves. The other, as protector, is both true and not true. Another coincidentia oppositorum. Faith is a believing in something without proof. I would add that it is believing in something in the face of contradictory evidence, including common sense and the generally accepted view. And faith is a cornerstone of spiritual practice because spirit is unprovable. As a result, it is controversial, with as many definitions and descriptions as there are people in the world. Faith defies the other, or more accurately, Faith obviates the other. When we have a deep connection to Spirit, to Creator, to the Tao, we no longer need the protection that the other offers. There is no chasm deep enough to kill our spirit, our soul. There is no death. Pain in the physical realm is real, and it is also finite. Goddess is eternal, and we are part of her. The other ends with the end of physical existence because all are one. Another coincidentia oppositorum. As light is both continuous wave and discrete particle, we are self-contained individuals and undifferentiated oneness. Goddess, Allah, Mother Nature, Supreme Consciousness. To embrace the coincidentia oppositorum is to step boldly without knowing where our steps will land, to ignore the yapping of the other, to embrace failure as joyful spiritual practice, to embrace success as joyful spiritual practice, to turn our face to the unknown, even as we know her presence, her voice, her call, her embrace. Whether we look to the seat of government, to the pulpit, to the courthouse, or to the lectern, we find few models of the sacred fool. In the media, whether social, digital, broadcast, or print, the other reigns supreme. It is up to us to step again and again and again into the footsteps of the sacred fool, even as they lead beyond the verge and into the unknown. It is daring to become the sacred fool. It is freeing to release how we look and sound to others. It is daunting to agree with the truths spoken by our detractors. It is rewarding to live in trust. The way of the sacred fool and the path of co-creation are one and the same. Even as the sacred fool has eyes only for potential unmanifested, co-creators dance the fool's dance as we manifest potential into physical form. We come to understand the hallowed spiritual nature of manifesting as we step into our sacred fool selves. We cannot manifest without embracing the foolishness of faith or the folly of magic. The outcome is pure joy and holy union. We have done a cursory investigation of coincidentia oppositorum only to find the coincidence of opposites popping up in all facets of our spiritual exploration. We have a brief acquaintance with the sacred fool, and we have examined the other from an internal perspective. I hope you will spend more time not only attempting to step into your sacred fool self, but also recognizing all the times you have done so without even knowing that was what you were doing. I encourage you to actively seek the coincidence of opposites as they arise around you and name them for what they are: magic. I support you in releasing the tyranny of the other to leave room for the delight of the fool. More trust, more faith, more love. Share your experiences with me via my website or email or on Facebook at Caravan of Dreams MT. Our music is used by permission of the artist, Sean Phoenix. Thank you, Sean. And thank you to Bozeman Public Library for the Workbench Sound Studio located in beautiful downtown Bozeman, Montana. If you would like to learn more about allowing and how to find your unique style of manifesting, please visit my website, caravanofdreamsmt.com, or email me at dancingwitchmt@gmail.com. This is Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch. Till next time, blessed be.